The Chaldeans are the descendants of the Mesopotamian Empire. That's the reason they're not so well known, because since they're from the Mesopotamian Empire, they used to call themselves Babylonians. The Chaldean Empire was also known as the Neo-Babylonian Empire. They set up their capital in Babylon and created a massive city of more than 1 million people, and the richest city in the world at the time. They were right in the center of Mesopotamia, and Babylon was a marvel of engineering. Great big walls surrounding it, and a ziggurat over 300 feet tall with a gold roof which could be seen from miles away. But they had other cities too, though most of their empire was around the southernmost part of Mesopotamia. They had many kings and rulers during their short period of existence, with Nabopolassar starting it all. Chaldeans would sometimes try to conquer other people, but most of the time they were trying to not get conquered. Since they were at the center of such a place of trade and importance, right in the center of Mesopotamia, the Syrians and Persians were constantly attacking them. The Chaldean army, while alright, was no match for the armies of the Assyrians and Persians, their main defenses being brick walls surrounding Babylon. There were towers built on those walls from where archers would guard the city and fend off small attacks. For larger attacks, they couldn't do much. All that was left was the walls, their measly army, and their police force. Due to their lack of military power, their empire did not last long.
The history of government officials in the Chaldean Empire started at 626 BC with Nabopolassar's coronation as king of Babylon and was firmly established in 612 BC. Nabopolassar's reign over the Chaldean Empire lasted from 626 BC to 605 BC, making his time of reign the second highest from Chaldean kings. Nabopolassar became king by using political instability in Assyria to revolt and successfully seize two cities, Babylon and Nippur, and won in the fight for keeping his control over the two cities, Babylon and Nippur, against the current Neo-Assyrian king Sin-shar-ishkun. He was crowned formally in November of 605 BC as king. Nabopolassar started off by restoring Babylonia as independent kingdom after more than a century of Assyrian rule. During his reign, Babylonia was at constant war with the Assyrian Empire for rule. Throughout the attacks of Sin-shar-ishkun to stop Nabopolassar, the Assyrian Empire was falling apart. Throughout the coming years, Babylonia and Assyria continued to fight in rule over Babylonia until Nabopolassar's crown prince Nebuchadnezzar defeated them in 605 BC. Following that, Nebuchadnezzar II succeeded Nabopolassar following his father's death in 605 BC. Nebuchadnezzar inherited an empire among the most powerful in the world, and he quickly reinforced his father's alliance with the Medes by marrying Cyaxares' daughter or granddaughter, which is unknown, Amytis. Nebuchadnezzar's 43-year-old reign, which would bring with it a golden age for Babylon, which was to become the most powerful kingdom in the Middle East. Nebuchadnezzar's most famous campaigns today are his wars in the Levant. These campaigns began relatively early in his reign and were chiefly conducted to stabilize his reign and consolidate his empire. After Nebuchadnezzar II came the third king, Amel-Marduk. Amel-Marduk was the son of Nebuchadnezzar II. He ruled for 562 BC to 560 BC for 2 years.
Family life in Jalia. Jalia was a part of Mesopotamia, and their family lives were similar. Women had freedom to go wherever they liked, and they could handle property. They could buy and sell and handle businesses. But men were the head of the household. Everyone in the family had to listen to him. Disobeying the head was considered a serious offense. A man could divorce his wife easily. A woman who left her husband faced severe penalties. Children were expected to obey their parents and elder family members. Not showing respect was considered a sin. Their father arranged their marriages. The main purpose of marriage was to give birth to expand civilization. Selling children was only allowed if there was an extreme financial crisis. A family was expected to live in unity.
In their religion, when springtime in the Chaldean Empire, a lot of pilgrims used to crowd Babylon to see a gold statue of the god Marduk being wheeled along the street. They also did believe that this parade would make their crops grow and also did help keep the empire at peace. There were some Chaldean astronomers believed that the changes in the skies to reveal the plans of gods. Chaldeans were Aramaic-speaking Eastern Rite Catholics. Chaldean Rite, which was also called East Syrian Rite, was a system of ceremonial practices and discipline which was historically connected with the Assyrian Church of the East. The Chaldean rite was simpler in form than the other ones, but also lacked a few details like a detailed dictionary of the scriptural verses and also like celebrating fewer saints. These religious activities mostly came from Iraq and Syria.
Trade in the Chaldean Empire. Traders came to Babylon from as far away as India and Egypt. Some trade items were traded to and from Babylonia as grain, oil, and textiles. These items were taken from Babylonia to foreign countries and were traded for timber, wine, precious metals, and stones. In addition, other merchants came from other countries to trade goods. Trading helped Babylonia become very rich.
After Nebuchadnezzar II died, a lot of weak kings started ruling the Chaldean Empire, which eventually led to the Chaldeans losing their power and found it hard to control the people they had conquered. Then, in 539 BC, the Persians, who were from the mountains, they had captured Babylon, and Mesopotamia just became another part of the Persian Empire. Poor harvests and slow trade then made the Chaldean Empire lose so much of its power, they eventually fell to their empire.